Time now for the markets with Leighton Spann, and U.S. cotton export sales and shipments are running strong as June begins.
But that doesn't necessarily translate into higher prices. The important part this fall for this year's crop. Some analysis coming up. Also ahead this week in the markets, U.S. ethanol groups are not happy with the renewable fuel standard proposal from the government. An improved supply-demand picture for rice may be developing, and U.S. supplies of red meat and poultry in cold storage are growing. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's proposed renewable fuel volumes put out May 29th are not as high as the biodiesel industry wanted, but a spokesman for biodiesel's national board tells Brownfield Ag News at least there's a roadmap now and a process. The industry feels the slightly higher volumes in the RFS proposal will get U.S. biodiesel growing again and put some people back to work. However, the biodiesel sector plans to work to get those numbers in the document beefed up even more. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the spectrum, as far as reaction to the Environmental Protection Agency proposal, is the U.S. ethanol industry. Ethanol producers were not happy at all with the fuel volumes announced May 29th, using words like extremely disappointed and calling the document inconsistent with the law. The Ethanol Coalition thinks the methodology used by the EPA was all wrong. The Iowa Corn Growers Association is even accusing EPA head Gina McCarthy of siding with big oil rather than farmers. And the CEO of Poet ethanol plants in the Midwest says the announced targets, as he put it, fall well short of rural America's potential to produce low-cost, clean-burning ethanol. The EPA proposal is open for public comment now through July 27th. Ethanol groups say they are hoping to mount a grassroots campaign to change those requirements. Well, the corn market itself has some potential this summer, according to analyst Naomi Bloom. She says she is going to be keeping her eye, though, on the upcoming June 30th acreage report from the government for any possible surprises that will have some bearing on what new crop prices do.
We don't have a reason yet to see the corn market rally, but just like wheat, I think it's done going down. And we're really in a good situation that if there's any surprises on the June planting intentions report of even smaller acres, if we have yield of 161, which is still a big number, that puts ending stocks at 1.27, which is way underpriced for corn right now, and the market would need to react and move higher because that would mean the stocks to use ratio is at 9%. So the corn market has potential this summer, but it depends on the end of June report and what the July weather is like for pollination.
Many market analysts seem to agree that an improved supply and demand situation for the global rice industry is at hand. However, the USDA's Economic Research Service says this doesn't mean world rice prices will move higher anytime soon. The world is expected to have record rice crops in 2015-16, with production up 1% from last year. But total supplies are expected to decline for a second consecutive year due to a smaller carry-in. And world rice consumption is now projected to increase by 1% from last year. Well, agfacts.com reports the cotton market continues to be plagued with weak demand, a result of what they say is a couple of years of high cotton prices and now low oil prices, which act as a disincentive for manufacturers to switch back to cotton from competing polyesters. Large expected ending stocks in China are also adding pressure. Analyst Don Roos terms cotton a supply bear market, one that could see lower prices by fall.
Well, I think when you look at it, the cotton plantings are slow, but also the moisture has improved. You had people planting on dry land cotton that we haven't seen for a number of years, some cases 4 years. The cotton market is much the same as the other commodity markets. In the around 2009, 2010, we went down to 40. Now we're sitting around $60. So, this market is one that with soybeans and everything else leaking lower, it also is a supply bear market. Of course, China holds most of the cards from what happens from the supply-demand standpoint, but they're bloated with stocks also. So we think it's a market that probably wants to leak lower as we go into the fall.
Time to break for a trivia quiz on Farm Week. We'll talk soil this week. There are 12 types of soil found in the world. How many types of soil does Mississippi have? Is the answer 2, 4, 6, or 8? You'll find out in a few more minutes. The United States is looking at larger meat stocks sitting in coolers right now. The U.S. red meat supply in cold storage at the end of April was up sharply from just 1 year ago. The USDA says that is likely because of increased pork production. Also, the relatively high retail price of beef and a wet, cool weather pattern in some areas that delayed the start of grilling season. The amount of beef in cold storage was up 18%. Pork was 20% higher. Poultry stocks also surged due to increased production and the weather. The amount of chicken in cold storage is up 31% compared to a year ago. The USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service is at the root of a little dust-up involving beef imports. In the past, APHIS banned beef imports from Brazil and Argentina into the U.S. because of a history of the foot and mouth disease there. But last week, the USDA did an about-face and took a step toward allowing those imports. U.S. livestock groups are crying foul now. They say the action took place just before Memorial Day weekend and gave the appearance the government was hoping the move would go unnoticed. The U.S. dollar index continues to vacillate. It posted a lower close at the end of April, and for much of the month of May, it was higher. On Tuesday of this week, the index suffered a big loss. Analyst Sue Martin offers her opinion of how she is viewing the dollar index moving as this year progresses.
I still am very positive the dollar longer term. I still think we have a chance the dollar could rally to 107, 109. I guess I remain bullish there. The lowering of interest rates, if we start, the Federal Reserve continues to talk about and indicate maybe the fourth quarter of raising interest rates. To me, that's just when you've got the European Central Bank doing quantitative easing, the Bank of Japan's doing the same thing. To me, that still says if they're doing it, they don't think they're where they should be yet. And that continues to attract, I believe, foreign investment into the U.S., into the dollar.
Back to the trivia quiz to wrap things up for this week, and the right answer is D. 8 different types of soil can be found in Mississippi.